Now on the way to train hamstrings. So primarily going to be doing hamstrings today. I haven't done them in at least a week, which is obviously quite a long time. So that's why I'm going to be paying them, extra serious, proper attention today. I recently, well, for quite a while to be honest with you, I haven't really been doing legs as a full day. I've been opting for more of a sort of posterior and anterior dominant leg day. So, I'll do quads and then I'll do hamstrings separately. And to be honest, I have managed to do that for most weeks and get both of them done. But then there'll just be the odd week where I'll pretty much just give hamstrings a little miss. And for me, I'm not competing in bodybuilding or anything like that, so it's not absolutely crucial that I have, exceptionally balanced quads and hamstrings, things like that. But obviously, just purely for the fact of having a balanced physique, that's kind of the reason why I'm doing it. And not just that as well. So not just the aesthetic aspect, but also we've got the strength and the muscle imbalance, the injury prevention, things like that. So just making sure that actually, the other areas of the body aren't going to be sort of overcompensating in order to basically keep you stable during an exercise. So yeah, that's the main reasons I'm sort of making sure to not let those fall behind. But other than that, I'm actually currently about 4 or 5 days into a diet, a cut. So basically, when you're bulking, obviously you've got more calories in your system. Your body's main sort of purpose, and the main function that you're trying to get it to achieve is growth. So you're trying to be anabolic and grow your muscles, size, strength, etc. Whereas if you're then in a deficit, so your body's losing body fat, etc., that's the main sort of focus of your body. So it can be very difficult for your body to actually maintain that muscle unless you actually use it properly. So, if you're in a surplus, if you're in a bulk, you're less likely to probably lose that muscle mass, even if you train it the same as when you're dieting. Without those calories, without that surplus, your body's just not able to prioritize it as much, because obviously it's harder and it's less efficient to keep muscle tissue that you're not using frequently. So the body's quite smart, so you can kind of just use it to your advantage, but obviously sometimes it just gets a bit tricky. So yeah, for the hamstring training, I'm basically going to be starting off same as normal, which is what I've been doing for a while now, and I'm absolutely killing the seated hamstring curls. So they just feel absolutely fantastic to me. I'm not limited by my wrist. I'm able to really push to failure. I like the machine here. It feels good. So doing that first, and then I'll move on to single leg laying down hamstring curls. So getting a bit of variation there. One seated, one laying down. Obviously got single leg and then the seated I'm doing together. So a bit more variation as well. The other thing which realistically I could and perhaps should be adding in would be RDLs. So I would like to potentially start doing those soon, especially now I'm building my own home gym. I will have a barbell and a rack there, so that'll be one of the kind of few exercises that I can actually do myself with the barbell. I'll be more using it for sort of cables, dumbbells, things like that. So squats, RDLs, they'll be the main things which I'll use the rack for. So if I can sort of get a bit of a head start on that and start putting them into into my plan now, then I think that'd be quite beneficial. So perhaps do some of those at the end. I would usually start with those, but I don't want my lower back to be fatigued, and I'm not trying to sort of hit the same weight each week and progress on that. So I'm not going to know any differently. Whatever I do today, I'm going to feel as strong as I feel today. It's not going to be in comparison to anything else. Whereas in the future, then I probably will start to implement that first, especially if I'm doing, a home workout at my house and I do a whole leg day, because there's not much variation. I've obviously only got a squat rack. I'll probably literally just do, squats, close stance for quads, and then RDLs for hamstrings, and I'll just do more sets. And then when I come to the gym here, I'll do, hack squat, leg extensions, seated hamstring, lay-in hamstring, and just mix it up that way. So yeah, gym is progressing nicely actually. I managed to finish laying the floor in yesterday. So if any of you guys have seen one of my first vlogs on here, it was me and my brother taking out the window to basically get the sofa out and clear some space. So yeah, it's exciting. I've ordered the equipment. I'm a little bit concerned because where the flooring has been laid, that's 15 mil thick, and then where the plaster is also laid or plastered over the Artex, that's also made us lose a bit of ceiling height, and literally the cable machine, as far as I can see when I measure it myself, it's literally like pretty much to the mill. So it's going to be tough. I don't know if it's going to fit or if I'm going to have to take the main column out, if that is even possible, if that'll still be stable because that's a little bit higher, or maybe even have to get someone to actually custom make a support frame, because I literally just can't find another set of cables that are like around this size that would actually fit. Unfortunately the ceiling is quite low. So yeah, anyway, let's get into hamstrings. I might do a bit of calves and stuff at the end, but I just want to focus on hamstrings and just absolutely smash them. So yeah, let's get into it. This will be the first hamstring video that I've done on the channel so far, although I did do a little bit of hamstring training at the hotel gym in Spain with my brother, which was one of the early vlogs that I did. But that is a little bit of a different style of content, which I will start up again early next year when I go traveling, because that was more vlogging on the phone paired with a bit of training footage as well, whereas these videos are just strictly training, and both of them have their benefits. What I love about the style of videos that I'm doing here is, to me, they still are pretty good quality. Like, the camera obviously films in nice quality. I do try and make an effort of doing the voiceover if necessary and things like that, the color correction, but ultimately it is just raw footage, and it's nice for me to reflect back on my form without having fancy different angles and trying to make it look the best. And also it's nice to reflect back on over the months, just as kind of a little training diary. So with the vlog style of things, that's more just exploring, trying out different foods and being on the go, traveling. So I'll definitely do a lot more of that, like I said, but for now let's focus on the actual session that we've got going on. So yeah, first hamstring day that we've got recorded on the channel, and it's not going to be anything too special, but I will talk you through it. So starting off here with a seated hamstring curl. Now, the gym that I trained at prior to this session here for like the past couple years is the gym that I used to work at. Unfortunately, they only used to have a laying down hamstring curl. So when I transitioned to this gym, I absolutely fell in love with this because, one, I haven't really used it in years, and two, it is just a great machine. So I pretty much was solely just doing this for like 3 to 5 sets for the first exercise at all times. And then I think you'll see here was the first day that I actually started to reintroduce RDLs back into my program. And again, limitations from the wrist being the reason that I couldn't do that. So just having to make sure that I could actually take the amount of weight that I wanted to do to make it worthwhile executing a set. But again, we'll talk about that afterwards. So here you can see I'm just really trying to squeeze and push to failure, and main thing you'll notice is I'm going very slow on the eccentric. So that is where the hamstring is getting more stretched. So as my leg comes up and my feet come up towards the ceiling, I guess, like here, that is more eccentric, whereas when I then contract and try and pull my heels into my glutes, that is contracting and squeezing the hamstring. So on that eccentric part, when my legs are going up to the top, I'm trying to go relatively slow, and that is just creating an absolutely insane burn. I would say hamstring burn and cramp and lactic acid buildup, whatever you want to call it, is probably one of the most intense pains, I'd say. For whatever reason, it's just unimaginable when you get to that point where you can really just completely burn out the muscle, and it's just agony, which is honestly what you want from an exercise. You want to be able to safely do that and consistently progress and overload that over time. And obviously it doesn't sound too enjoyable. I wouldn't want to sit there and, you know, just do that for the rest of time. But for hamstrings, I do think that has a lot of benefit, that machine. Now, I've moved on to the laying down hamstring curl after that, single leg, and I really like this machine as well. So as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm really trying to thrash my hamstrings because I haven't done them in a long time. So this was nice just to focus on only the hamstrings. And I'd say this period of time was probably when I started to make the change from training maybe like 5 times a week to now probably like 6 times a week, sometimes even 7. But like you'll see here, the sessions will sometimes just be hamstrings. So it's basically less volume per day, but more frequency per week. And that has worked really nicely for me. So it was really good to come in here and just not have to worry about doing a whole leg day, whereas I've done quads one day and hamstrings the other. So at this point in time, I think it was just, yeah, the perfect matchup of being able to recover from one exercise and one muscle group to then move on and focus on it in a different manner, but in a couple of days. So, you know, if I'm doing the legs on a Monday, I might do a hamstring curl, an RDL, etc. And then maybe on the Wednesday or the Thursday, I can come in and do quads and do a hack squat and a leg extensions and whatever else. So yeah, a few more sets to go on this one. Now this machine is a little bit unique where, because the machine is plate loaded, when it gets to a certain point, it kind of gets affected by gravity, and the counterbalance of the weight just ends up being pushed over a little bit, if that makes sense. So yeah, you kind of get halfway up, and then when you get to a certain point, if you do get past that, you'll feel the load come off your hamstring and the tension will be released a little bit, which isn't really ideal. So I mean, basically like a single leg cable one of these would be quite cool, to be honest, but I'm not complaining. Like, this is a lovely machine. I really do like it. I have used a plate loaded stand-in single leg as well in Spain, and also in a big 24-hour gym which is a little bit further away from me, and that's also good. But the same sort of thing happens when you get to a certain point. You do feel the weight distribution change, but that does happen on many machines, like the Strength Profile, I think it's called. But yeah, just to let you guys know, if you are doing this, don't go crazy light and then just sort of kick the weight up and be surprised when that weight just kind of flies up and then gets heavy again as it comes down. So yeah, I have worked this up very heavy over the last few months, because obviously, again, this is still a little bit old, this video. I'm still catching up, but to be honest, the rate that I'm going, like, if you guys stay tuned, they will all be pumped out and pushed out in the next few you know, days and weeks. So we will be back up to speed, and obviously the commentary that I'm doing now in hindsight is actually quite nice to look back on. So like, for example, seeing this here, I'm noticing that my hamstring pump was absolutely crazy in my opinion, compared to when I've been doing legs recently. I've moved back to a full leg day, and although that's been really good and I haven't actually felt as fatigued as I thought I would, and it's been beneficial for me, the pump has been very much quad dominant. Now that could be ultimately because I do pose down a bit more at the end, and that is after I've done the, actually no, to be fair, yeah, so that's a really interesting point. And perhaps looking at that and now thinking about this in the future, I might reflect and just drop in the odd hamstring day just to see if that compares any differently, especially being that I'm a lot leaner now. It'll be interesting to see the cuts in my legs and how I've responded to a bulking phase and now into a dieting phase. So yeah, after all those accessories, that was a fair bit of volume, but you know, I didn't mind it because it wasn't much strain on the rest of my body. And then moving now on to a RDL, which this is going to be the polar opposite, which is going to be a lot of stress on the rest of my body. So here I can see the form for me, I'd say, is pretty good. Like, I've got a straight back, I've got straight arms, I can slightly improve my leg straightness, I'd say. There's a bit more movement than I'd like perhaps, and also there you can see adjusting my feet isn't ideal because realistically that's just, again, taking off extra strength that I could be using to do the set, also adjusting the grips there. But I am still getting a nice range of motion, and it's obviously, well, in my opinion, for me anyway, it's a fair bit of weight. So being able to actually pull this and work the hamstrings after doing probably what was like 5 to 8 sets of accessories beforehand is still good for me, and the form's still slow, controlled. I'm not trying to risk any injury or anything like that. So yeah, all in all, was a good exercise. I think I probably did 1 or 2 sets on this one. Definitely wouldn't have done 2 sets on that weight though, but I have not put this exercise back into my plan permanently, just purely because of the reasons that I just explained. All in all, it's just not worth me actually sacrificing grip strength, etc. So what I've done now is combine the leg days again, but do them more frequently, and I'm actually really enjoying that. So again, I've kind of taken all the feedback and all the signals into account and said, okay, for a little while that was good, but now I've actually been able to do, you know, heavier hack squats more frequently. I've built up that work rate, I've built up that intensity. I think actually doing just the accessories at the end of a quad day with some calves has been fantastic for me. So yeah, I'm still getting good soreness from that, and the only thing I'm not getting is probably the pump, but like I said, it's because I'm doing quads as well and they're taking the brunt of the volume. So like I said, I think very soon I'll do a hamstring only day and record that one and see how that differentiates from the session that I'm filming here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously, I'm just posing down here, getting a few more shots in, and that's what I'm talking about. The hamstrings from the back and the side, the sweep especially, looks pretty decent in my opinion, so I'm happy about that. And this is after, I'd say maybe a week or so of dieting. I can't remember exactly, but definitely would have lost a little bit of weight from just food in the gut and glycogen and water, etc. So mainly from the midsection. I definitely would have lost a lot of water weight because I go straight to intermittent fasting, kind of to the extreme, and that's something I'll talk a bit more about in future videos as I start to diet down even more. But yeah, I basically pushed the first meal back very, very far. So at this point, I may have even been fasted. I can't exactly remember, or I don't recall if I talked about it at the start of the video. But nevertheless, on the side here, like, I was pretty impressed again about the hamstring and quad cuts here. So yeah, I definitely am going to do a hamstring only day to see how that compares. But overall, this was a really fun day and enjoyed filming it for sure. Was getting in the routine now of kind of cycling through all of the sessions, getting everything filmed and getting comfortable with the camera. So I think in the next couple of days, you guys are going to see some kind of raw commentary in the actual gym, where I put my DJ mic on the headset, on the hat, and then I can actually commentate as I'm going through the session, talk a bit more about what I'm actually thinking and feeling before and after each set, which will be quite good. So yeah, more good stuff to come. And don't worry, the vlogs that I'm going to be uploading in the next few months will 100% be some of the old style stuff, which is a bit more kind of carefree and obviously personal. But yeah, this is obviously just a different style of footage which I can upload regularly, consistently, and aligns with my goals of just getting more jacked, having more fun, and creating some good content. So yeah, any suggestions as always are always welcome. If you want to drop me a message for any coaching inquiries, the best thing to do with that would be to drop me a message on Instagram, and then also fill out the application which is in the description of this video, and also there's a link in my Instagram bio. So you've got a couple options there, but ultimately, if you want to get in touch, you guys know how to. There'll be no video at the end of this one to talk about the session, so I'll round it up now just by saying that final thoughts: if any of you guys are struggling with a muscle group, or you're getting a bit bored, or you're finding a plateau in your training, just go to the gym and focus on that one muscle group, and trust me, you'll find a completely different sensation in your ability to perform the exercise and contract the muscle, find that mind-muscle connection, and just basically focus on it in a whole different way. So yeah, give it a go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which I think is going to be arms. So yeah, take it easy. The only way is up.